Hey everybody, welcome to Fantasy R&R. This is your host Ryan.
And I'm Rob.
And we have breaking news. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. appears to have a wrist injury.
Yeah, Ryan, I was looking into this, went to his MLB Savant page. It looks like his max exit velocity for burger intake has through the roof. Unfortunately, it looks like he has sustained a wrist injury from all the burgers he's been intaking.
Yes, I do believe that it was a Kentucky Fried Chicken wing that he was trying to lift up at the time. We do wish him the best.
This is Fantasy with Rob and Ryan, Fantasy R&R.
We're just going to get into some players today that are 50% owned or less, around that area. Some of them have gone up since last week, but they are in that realm. Starting off with Ezequiel Tovar in Colorado, the shortstop. Rob, go ahead and take it away, and then we'll just kind of switch off between players from there.
Yeah, Ezequiel Tovar was a guy everybody was in love with, starting Colorado, #1 prospect. Everything was just gold about this guy. He was drafted high and then was dropped very low. Tovar sitting on a 30% ownership right now. Just listen to some quick nerd numbers here. Average exit velocity, first 30 games, 86.2. First 19 games, 86.2 average exit velocity. Last 10, 87.8. There's a bump there. Barrel rate, though, 2.3%. Now up to a healthy 13%. Hard hit rate, 22.7. Now 39.1. Ezequiel Tovar will be the Brent Rooker of shortstop. If he is available, go pick up Tovar immediately before it is too late.
Somebody here in Beantown, Jarren Duran, I think was a rookie last year, starting to make some waves here in Boston. The guy has looked absolutely incredible, batting .366 in 71 at-bats. He's the primary scorer for the Red Sox right now with 12 runs, 13 batted in. He's got a couple of home runs and 4 stolen bases. Right now, the guy is 53% rostered. This is only up 1% from last week. We got to start seeing some people pick this guy up, because it just doesn't make sense that he's out there on the waiver looking like the superstar on Boston next to Alex Verdugo, while other guys are hanging out on your team at 93% rostered like Jose Abreu. Go out and look for Jarren Duran as quickly as possible.
Yeah, another guy I'm looking at, TJ Friedl, outfielder for Cincinnati. This guy is sitting at a lowly 17% owned. All this guy has been doing has been hitting over 300, has 3 home runs and 3 stolen bases and about 100 at-bats. Extrapolate those numbers amongst a full season, we are looking at a potential 15 to 20 home run stolen base, 300 hitter. These guys do not grow on trees. That is the infamous message from my bud Ben Ballou, who is now drilled in my head. I picked up TJ Friedl, 17%. Bat and lead off in Cincinnati. This makes 0 sense. This guy needs to be owned now.
And we have been discussing a little bit about the powerhouse teams in the MLB and how to approach that going into fantasy. Well, one thing's for sure, if you have any of the Tampa Bay hitters, you have any of the Tampa Bay pitching, you're in a good spot, and that includes Taylor, Wally Balls Walls. He has been absolutely incredible this year. Yeah, he's coming back down to earth a little bit, but at 54% rostered, I think you've probably got somebody on your team you could drop for this guy. He plays second, third, and shortstop in most standard leagues. Right now, at this point on the season, after 76 at-bats, batting .276, 19 runs, 5 home runs, 11 RBIs, 6 stolen bases. You could do a lot worse than having Taylor Walls on your team at 55% rostered.
Alex Kirilloff is a guy who is close to my heart. I've always loved this dude. Lowest percentage owned guy we are going to be talking about here at 9%. It totally makes sense. He has been dealing with wrist injuries the last few years. The thing is, very similar to Mike Soroka of the Braves. When he plays, he's really, really good. And he's still young, sitting at 26 years old. When he came up through his rehab starts, he was crushing the baseball. Pretty sure he had over 4 home runs, almost an RBI per game he played over, betting well over 300. First game back yesterday, goes 1 for 2, 2 walks. This is what this guy's going to do. I'm hoping and praying Kirilloff stays the course. I still believe in this dude. Alex Kirilloff, if not Adam, one of those infamous watch guys for sure.
So to continue with that Tampa Rays thing, we know that they're a powerhouse of a team, and it's paying off for a lot of their roster, even some of the older veterans and some guys that are kind of in the middle of their career trying to get to the peak. Let's talk about Harold Ramirez, who I think is a little underowned in most leagues right now. Harold Ramirez is probably one of the bright stars of the waiver wire this year, as I believe he's ranked somewhere between like 80 or something like that. But as somebody who is eligible at first base, outfield in most leagues. I think in my league, specifically right field in one of the leagues, I have him 55% rostered, so right around what we were talking about there. He's kind of like Taylor Walls. He doesn't always play. He's in and out, but this guy has been pretty awesome. On the season, batting .333 after 90 at-bats with 15 runs, 6 home runs, 15 RBIs, and a stolen bag. It's quite impressive, too, when you look at his career numbers. He's a career .285 batter after over 1,200 at-bats. That means he's a proven .280 batter. He had an off season last year, getting hurt and everything, and with Cleveland, he was actually pretty good as well. We don't see a lot of power out of him normally, but this year he's off to a hot start. So Harold Ramirez is definitely somebody you could stick onto your team if you need a little bit of an OPS boost at some point.
Might be a little too late on this guy. Bryce Miller, though, Seattle starting pitcher, just coming out flame-throwing. He is up to 61%. Started yesterday against Houston and shut them out. This guy looks fantastic. 12 innings pitched. This is within, again, 2 starts. He's 1-0, 15 strikeouts, a .75 ERA, and a .42 whip. 1 walk. 15 Ks to 1 walk. This sounds very enticing. Seattle has needed help with their starting pitching early this season, so I'm thinking Bryce Miller not only is going to stick, but I think will be similar to a couple other starting pitchers I'm going to want to talk about here, but this guy has just come up and exploded. If he's available now, go get him. Get Bryce Miller as fast as you possibly can.
A nice little surprise for my team. We're going to be talking about Geraldo Perdomo, Arizona third baseman and shortstop. This guy has actually been pretty awesome on the season. 38% rostered. He's actually 82 ranked on the season. Why? Probably something that, under the radar, never heard of him. 71 at-bats, batting .380, OPS of 1.062. Gets a couple of walks the other day, gets 2 stolen bags out of it for his 3rd on the season. He's driving in runs, he's scoring. He's going to start becoming more of a consistent part of the offense now. At 23 years old, he is going to be a rising star in this league for the next 2 seasons to come. Keep your eye on that guy right now. And I'm just going to go ahead and go right into Lourdes Gurriel Jr., another Diamondback. This is something you were talking about, Rob. Get the Tampa Bay Rays power hitters, get the Arizona hitters, because their offense has been pretty good. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. sneaking up to 78, probably someone a lot of us shunned at the beginning of the season. So much so that he's only 52% rostered, up 20% from last week. That means last week only 30% of people roughly in leagues owned him. But on the season, he already has 113 at-bats, and he's batting .310 with that. His OPS leaves something desired. He Ks a little bit too much. .885. He does ground into double plays a lot, but with 21 runs, 5 home runs, 19 RBIs, and a bag on the season, he's probably somebody you can stick onto your roster and start playing Moneyball with.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a couple guys here on the Guardians, and they're both starting pitchers. Tanner Bybee, Logan Allen. Tanner Bybee at 57%, Logan Allen at 43%. A lot of people were speculating that Logan Allen wasn't the right call-up. They are wrong. This guy is really, really good. Tanner Bybee then got the call right after him, yet he still sits at only 57% because a lot of people were thinking he was going to get sent back down to the minors. Thing is, teams aren't going to let alone starting pitching this year, they're not going to let top prospects come up, dominate, and then send them down. We've seen that happen way too many times before. It screws with people's heads. Tanner Bybee and Logan Allen are here to stay. 2 great starting pitchers. We know how starting pitching has been all year. These 2 dudes are practically owned in less than 50% of leagues and are sitting there on waiver wires, and they need to be added now.
So someone I'm going to bring up, this guy, you were saying that, earlier, Kirilloff was the lowest percentage rostered player on this podcast. It's actually going to be this Brent Hedrick guy, who's 0% rostered at the moment, but actually 238 rank on the season, because he is somebody who has already played a few innings, about 8 innings pitched, 12 Ks, ERA at 3.24, whip of .96. And he's coming out of the up and down from the minors. He just got recalled, but apparently will be brought up back again at some point to start. Somebody you got to keep your eye on. Very young kid. Was drafted, I think, in the 9th round, but in the minors threw around 247 strikeouts. It's only 184 innings pitched, so we know this guy's got a good K rate. I think he's somebody to watch out for. Right now, you can stick him in an NA slot, but expect him to be moved to the normal roster soon.
One of my favorite players I'm going to talk about, Matt Mervis. He could be the future power hitter for the Cubs. This guy was just tearing up AAA. All he's done since he got drafted is hit a lot of home runs, and now he's finally in Wrigley. They've the Cubs and their silly Band-Aids over bullet hole patches of Eric Hosmer and Trey Mancini are finally over. Matt Mervis sitting on 47%. This guy just hits homies. That's my new home run thing. Homies, hitting homies. This guy hits homies. Pick up Matt Mervis now. I believe he's the future Cubs cleanup hitter. It's a scrappy young team who needs the power now. And Matt Mervis surely is not going to just supply that for the Cubs, but for your fantasy baseball team.
Real quick, I just want to kind of throw a little bonus in there. The Yandy Man can. Yandy Diaz, however you want to say it. This is somebody you and me have been watching for years. I think definitely since 2018 we've been talking about this guy on the phone. I think at least. But it's finally happening, and I just want to let everybody know out there that Yandy Diaz is the third best ranked player in the MLB right now for fantasy purposes, and he's only 89% rostered. Yes, I know, a little higher than 50 and 60, but if you can believe that, most of these mixed leagues, Yandy is not being rostered in. Now, I think there's some anomalies in certain leagues that like drafted, but they auto-drafted but never get played with. I think that has something to do with a little bit of the percentage, but this isn't, unless I see 98, I'm pretty much assuming there's a league out there full of 10, 12 teams, competitive teams, that just aren't looking at this guy because he hasn't been worth looking at. And you might be one of those lucky few to hit the jackpot today and go out and get him. Now, this is absolutely crazy. If you want to hear these stats right now, that on the season, and let's remind everybody, we're pretty much only a month through baseball. He has, in 114 at-bats, 29 runs, 9 home runs, 19 RBIs, no stolen bags. He doesn't steal a lot, but you'll see like 1 to 5 peppered in every season. Batting .325 with a 1.040 OPS. He's being patient at the plate. He's getting walks. He's driving them in. And when he's on base, he's got enough speed to round the bases with Franco hitting doubles and stuff like that. Yandy leads off, so this is just like the perfect power storm. You guys need to go out there and look, hey, am I in a league where this guy is not being rostered? He has almost half as many runs right now through 1 month as he did in total last season. He's on an absolute breakout season, and he's 31. So this is the year you want to utilize and play him.
Yeah, Yandy Diaz. I mean, we talked about him earlier this year, saying, once again, the story's been told a billion times. He was acquired from Cleveland, who hit the ball really hard, but hit a lot of worm burners, and Tampa finally got in his head how to lift the ball, and yeah, he's been fantastic. Another dude who is lifting the ball and needs to get noticed is Miguel Vargas of the Dodgers, the last guy I'm talking about, and this guy might end up being the best of them all, except from Ezekiel Tovar. He's going to be my favorite. But Miguel Vargas, another guy drafted high, Dodgers organization, comes in, stinks, gets dropped a bunch, and now suddenly is starting to rake again. This is that youth movement coming in with the Dodgers right now. Miguel Vargas sitting at 45%. We might be looking at top 15 first baseman coming in next year who needs to be owned everywhere. So Miguel Vargas, go take a look to see if he is available, power and speed.
And that's kind of been, the theme of all this is you've really been looking at exit velocities, the hard hit rates and stuff like that. And like you said, these are a lot of guys that are under-owned, that are in the middle of a breakout, or they're just younger and overlooked, and they have the power and the StatCast to back it all up. But you get ahead of the game like that, and all of a sudden you were talking about, hey, some of these guys could be 90% rostered by the end of the year. I mean, Yandy, what was he, like 30% rostered by week 2, and now all of a sudden he's got to be 98, 99 by the end of the season. So the last guy we're going to talk about here at only 14% rostered, a lot of you probably haven't heard of him. His name is Clark Schmidt. No, I'm just kidding. All right, everybody, thanks for listening to Fantasy R&R. This was Rob and Ryan. We'll see you next time.